It is my great pleasure to introduce and welcome to East Palo Alto, Regina Carter.
My mother was born and raised in Detroit. She lived in an area called Black Bottom. My godmother lived in Paradise Valley, so there were certain sections of the city where blacks and immigrants were forced to live, and if you weren't supposed to cross certain streets or be in certain neighborhoods, you'd be arrested or worse. And then black people couldn't own anything. They all rented. And so they decided they were going to put a freeway through, and this through Detroit, through Black Bottom, and people were just displaced, and a lot of times living either in projects or just figuring out being homeless. And I thought it only happened in Detroit. And when I performed this piece years ago, it was called Black Bottom, I found out that it happened. Someone said, oh, that happened in my city, and then I kept, that happened in my city. And I started researching and found out that it happened in every urban city across the United States. And it's still happening. And I call it urban removal. So the last piece of Black Bottom, a friend of mine helped work on this piece with me. She's a poet. Her name is Leslie Reese, and she was also from Detroit. And she interviewed the people that were still living for Black Bottom. And she turned those stories into poetry and read them when we performed it. It was first performed. It was commissioned by Lincoln Center. The last piece we talked about, it was from an interview from my mother's best friend who said they just destroyed our neighborhoods. I know some were old and funky, but they just destroyed them as if they were never even there. Gone in a phrase of air, as though they were never even there. I felt like it was important for folks to know, because I didn't know growing. I only knew because of my mother, but I was doing these performances, and sometimes adults, professors would say, I didn't know anything about this. This is really important that you get this message out. Back then, my parents, people then, they didn't have the power or the money to fight this. So we have to, how do we know about these things? Are there town meetings? You know, when I was growing up, there were block club associations.
What do you want audience members to take away from your particular work, from this piece?
I want them to be aware. So that's the piece. A lot of times people aren't aware, but I want them to start to have the discussion, what can we do here?
Okay.
Be educated about what's going on in your area. I think going to, if it's town halls, community meetings, and vote in every single election, because those little tiny votes matter. By the time it gets to, it's a statewide or it's a countrywide vote, a lot of times what's left is what we didn't vote on or what was voted on in those smaller elections.